My speech on abolitionism and Abraham Lincoln. Abolitionism and Abraham Lincoln were very important to anti-slavery movements because they were the anti-slavery movements. They single-handedly brought slavery into the people's attention and eventually brought about the end of slavery. One might ask why they were so important to the end of slavery and why they should be remembered. It is simple. The abolitionists, headed by William Lloyd Garrison, who was a career abolitionist and headed The Liberator, which was the abolitionist newspaper, were a group of about 3,000 outspoken people who gathered together against slavery. Abolitionism started in the North, where slavery was illegal. They are important mainly because they comprise the majority of the Underground Railroad, which freed thousands of slaves around the nation from 1830 to the 1860s. Abraham Lincoln, meanwhile, became the face of the Republican Party, which was formed from the remnants of the anti-slavery parties, being the Whigs, Know-Nothings, and the Free Soil Democrats. Abraham Lincoln became the face of abolitionism and the anti-slavery movement with his election as president in 1860. He fought valiantly to end slavery by limiting the number of slave states that could enter the Union, and when the Civil War started, he eventually created the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the majority of slaves in the South. Between the acts of Abraham Lincoln and those of the many abolitionists that spoke around the country, they brought about the end of slavery. On the other hand, those that understate the importance of the abolitionists and Abraham Lincoln cite that slavery was becoming more and more unacceptable anyway, because of escaped slaves telling their tales. They would spread their stories and tell of the horrors of bondage. This, however, is refuted because the slaves who escaped and earned freedom and told their tales were recruited by and protected by the abolitionists who campaigned against slavery themselves. For example, Frederick Douglass was recruited to speak out against slavery by the abolitionists and was housed by the abolitionists. Another argument can be made that Abraham Lincoln did little other than the Emancipation Proclamation to aid the anti-slavery movement. But this too can be challenged by the fact that he campaigned strongly against slavery when running for Congress and when he ran as president. He also tried everything in his power to end slavery before the Civil War. But after the Civil War concluded, slavery was abolished for good, thus accomplishing what he set out to do. The importance of abolitionism and Abraham Lincoln cannot be overstated. They started the Underground Railroad and had figures like Frederick Douglass speak out against slavery. Abraham Lincoln created the Emancipation Proclamation and led the Union to victory, which formally ended slavery in the South. Between those two entities, they reshaped America through their acts of bringing attention to slavery and through Abraham Lincoln's victory as president. They ended slavery for good. Their importance cannot be overstated.